Good evening and welcome to Captions. So glad again that you chose Captions. You know, we're completing our third decade and approaching our fourth decade of providing captions, and there's a purpose to share with you information, issues. In fact, in tonight's show, we have a very special segment in which we're going to show you a rally that took place recently because of some of the concerns that are going on in our community about possible cuts to many of the agency programs here at Community Action Agency. We're going to show speakers at that, and then I'm going to be interviewing some of the staff to talk about some very important programs that they are associated with and that we must continue in our community. Again, our purpose is to educate you, to motivate you, for you to participate. Stay tuned. Our first segment is going to be the rally, and then following that, I'm going to introduce one of the important staff people, and he's going to talk about his program.
Helping people.
Changing lives.
Helping people.
Changing lives.
Helping people.
Changing lives.
Thank you to my Community Action family for all the work that you do in helping people and changing lives. Thank you to all Community Action agencies that have come up here from all over the state. Thank you to all of you who speak out for social justice. Thank you for echoing the cries you hear from those whom we serve and fight for with compassion, commitment, and courage every day. We are gathered here today because the time has come for us to loudly speak out and reject poverty as a standard statistical indicator of life. We are here today to call for the freedom of thousands of families in Illinois that have found themselves in the bondage of poverty. We are here today to demand economic and social justice for those who are being denied the opportunity to fulfill the American dream because they cannot afford to pay their utility bills, afford prescription drugs, and find decent, safe, and affordable housing. We are here today to demand that policymakers and elected officials put people first as they deliberate over our nation's budget. We have an opportunity to effectively reduce poverty in this nation and this world. Even though poverty is on the rise in America, these are times in which the world boasts breathtaking advances in science, technology, and wealth accumulation. We are indeed blessed when we're bestowed the awesome task of assisting the least of these, our brothers and sisters, come out of the dredges of poverty into a life of dignity, self-wealth, and self-sufficiency. We are indeed blessed if we are in a position to speak out for the powerless and the voiceless. Our actions on this earth will be judged not based on what we accomplished for ourselves or the powerful, but what we accomplished for those whom society has marginalized because of economic, social, and political reasons. Even though poverty has been around since biblical times, it is a condition which is created and sustained by mankind. Therefore, its eradication and amelioration can only be done through the actions of mankind. I am reminded of why we are all part of this community action movement. Ours is a calling to improve and change the human condition for the better. As the President stated in one of his speeches, we are the ones we have been waiting for. It is now time to roll up our sleeves and do what we know how to do best, which is helping people and changing lives. We need to understand that no political party or economic system can meet the needs of those at the economic margins of our society unless those who control and influence those political and economic processes have had their hearts transformed. These are indeed tough times, but they are tougher for the most vulnerable of our population. As Congress begins to deliberate over next year's budget, we ask that our voices be heard from Peoria to Washington, D.C. We demand the protection of our families and communities. We will fight to save community action. That is why we say no cuts to the community services block grant funding. That is why we say no LIHEAP funding cuts. That is why we say no cuts of programs and services that protect our families and our communities. How can we expect families who are already struggling in this tough economy to make it if we cut their social safety net? How can we hope for a stronger and prosperous America when we neglect our own during their times of need? How can we invest in our future if we do not invest in our people? We need to remind our leaders and decision makers that it is morally reprehensible to balance the budget on the backs of poor people. We need to remind them that it is unacceptable to reduce the deficit while putting our seniors at risk. We need to remind them that our troubled economy will not be solved by only focusing on Wall Street and Main Street, but that we need to focus on the back streets of America too. Nelson Mandela said, like slavery and apartheid, poverty is not natural. It is man-made, and it can be overcome and eradicated by the actions of human beings. And overcoming poverty is not a gesture of charity. It is an act of justice. It is the protection of a fundamental human right, the right to dignity and a decent life. While poverty persists, there is no true freedom. Thank you very much. Helping people. Helping people. And next we're going to have Mr. Art Welch, the Vice President for Community Development for PCCEO. Thank you.
I want to just talk about very briefly the dollars and cents of what's going to be affected by the proposed cuts. In 2010, the CSBG program received $1,469,000 to provide services to the residents of Peoria County. That included some stimulus dollars. In 2011, our funding is now down to $539,000, and of the proposed cuts, if we receive a 50% cut, we're talking about only $268,000 to provide for people here in Peoria County. That is not going to be a very good situation for us. As Delizzo has so eloquently pointed out, it is not the time now to balance the budget on the backs of the very people that need the help the most. This is not the time. If you figure out what the cuts would be if you on domestic spending, it's not even 1/2 of 1% of the budget. This is all political show. Tough cuts are going to have to be made. Yes, we've got a deficit problem. The people that I work with, and you people in the audience, we know that cuts are going to have to be made, and the balanced budget is something that is necessary for it to take place. But it does not have to be done solely on the backs of poor people. That is wrong, and we will fight that all the way.
Yeah.
I think we need to personalize this fight. These are not just dollars and cents. This is somebody's mother, somebody's brother, somebody's father, somebody's child, a disabled veteran, a senior, a child. This country is headed in the wrong direction, my friends. If you don't take care of your seniors and educate your children and take care of your veterans, what really are you all about? Think about that. How can we be great? We can't be great. This is one of the greatest economic powers in the world. But this country is heading down the road where the country itself will no longer be great. We'll be good, but we won't be great anymore. You can't say that if you don't take care of the ones that need the help the most. Thank you.
In Peoria County, we have over 20,000 families that live in poverty or below the poverty guideline. During the year of our program year of 2010, we served 10,000 households. With the proposed budget cuts for 2012, we would only be able to serve 5,000 households. That's cutting the number of families that we were able to provide energy assistance in half. I've met seniors who've had to choose between paying their utilities or paying their rent, pay their utilities or purchasing food, and it is not fair to our seniors to have to balance to decide whether they should eat or pay their utilities or pay their rent. There was a customer last year whose furnace went out in their home, and even though we put a new furnace in her home, she still closed every door in her home and used a space heater to heat one room where she cooked and had a little refrigerator because she didn't want to have the responsibility of paying a high utility bill. You know, these aren't stories, these are real people that we see every day working here in community action. So it is up to us to keep our dream alive by helping people and changing lives.
Right.
I'm sure that all of you have been hearing about the hunger that is facing the nation. We belong to an organization called Feeding America, and Feeding America serves over 36 million people throughout the United States, and 14 million of that 36 are children. So as a food bank, you know, we're on the front line and we see all kinds of poverty. The agencies are reporting an increase in the amount, in the number of clients they're serving. This summer they saw many homeless people, and it's really, really very sad. And while all the numbers, the money numbers seem to be going down as far as funding, you know, our access to funding, our numbers are going up because people are hungry. So we really, really need to concentrate on feeding the people that are in need. Thank you.
I'm here to speak on the behalf of the Foster Grandparent Program and tell you what it means to the foster grandparent. It means the difference of an elderly person being able to live in their homes or choose to move out of their homes. That's a big meaning. Also, it means a lot for most of our foster grandparents. It's for the mentality. We don't have to sit in our homes, worry about whether we eat or whether we pay our medicine bills or whether we just get sick from just stress, from just sitting there thinking. Community Action Agency is a very powerful and very important agency. It helps the foster grandparents to get out of their homes, be able to go help the younger people who the little fellows are in the community. It gives us a sense of feeling that we are giving back to the community. We're teaching the young who is one day going to grow up and live out in this community. So it's a big thing that foster grandparents, it seems like they're not doing anything, but when you walk into a classroom, and some of you have children, and their little faces light up when they see the grandparent come in, that's a soul feeling that goes to the heart. And it also helps. It helps us mentally. When you're helped mentally, that keeps us out of the doctor's office, which means it's going to be, you're either going to pay one way or the other because you're going to be paying for us to go to the doctor. So when we get our mentality under control, our nerves under control, we're happy. And when we are happy, we are healthy. Thank you. We are speaking on behalf of the foster grandparent. To everyone that has supported us in the past, we really appreciate it. I speak for all of the foster grandparents. We're asking you to please search your heart and continuously support this program. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. One more time. Helping people. Helping people. Helping people. Thank you very much.
Welcome back to Captions, and now I have the privilege of introducing to you one of our new members of our family here at the Community Action Agency. I have with me Chris Wade. Chris, welcome to Captions.
Thank you, Mr.
I believe this is your first time to be on Captions, and can you take a few moments and tell us where you're from and what you're doing here at the Community Action Agency?
Well, yes, this is my first time. Thank you for having me. I actually grew up here in Peoria, just outside of here actually, in Kansas City, and went to school at Southern Illinois University at Carbondale. And after Carbondale, I left to go to Los Angeles. I went to Los Angeles. I was in Los Angeles for 20 years.
Wow.
Prior to coming back to Peoria area, I was a project director for California Association of Alcohol and Drug Program Executives, running a consumer advocacy organization statewide for people who are in recovery from substance abuse, chemical addiction.
Okay. Well, I am so glad to have you on our show tonight, because I know there's many things that you would like to share with our viewers tonight, and I want you to share. But I'm so glad that you brought your talent back to Peoria. They always are saying that our brightest always leave and go somewhere else to help other communities. I'm glad to see that you came back to give back to your own community.
Yes.
From what I understand, you're involved in a program called HPRP, is that right? What does that stand for?
HPRP stands for the Homeless Prevention Rapid Rehousing Program.
Homeless Prevention Rapid
Rehousing.
Wow, okay.
Yes. It's a program that's offered here at Peoria Citizens Committee for Economic Opportunity, PCCEO, and it's funded through the HUD, through the federal government, with American Recovery and Reinvestment Act dollars, so stimulus monies.
Wow,
is how it's funded. The city of Peoria actually acquired the grant, and so we're funded directly through the city of Peoria.
So some of this stimulus money that people have been hearing about and wondering where it's going, we have received some of it here in Peoria and at the Community Action Agency.
Yes, and it's important to know that, particularly right now. One of the things that we do is provide home stabilization.
Okay.
We actually keep people in their homes, people who have an eviction or utility shutoffs, and looking at an environment that's just unfit to live in, or looking at the reality of being out on the streets. So it's a win-win for both the tenant and the landlord and the agency.
And the community.
And the community more so.
And the community.
Yes.
As I always said, that you can measure the quality of a community not by the best of us, but by the least of us.
Of course.
And as long as there are people, for whatever reason, find themselves homeless, then that's a reflection on the total community. And I'm glad to see again the Community Action Agency recognizing that as a problem and providing an answer to that problem in meeting the need through your program.
Yes.
About how many people, or how long have you been now involved with the program?
The program actually launched January the 24th of this year.
Okay.
So it's been operating. We had an overwhelming response to the program, and it's keeping me busy, I'll say that.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
How would a person go about finding out about the program, or who would they call, or what number would they call if they're interested in this program or need
Well,
this
they
program?
can definitely contact PCCEO,
Okay.
and they can reach me directly at 309-671-3900, extension 220, and ask for Chris Wade.
Okay.
I can give them some guidance on the program, set them up with an appointment, do an initial consult, if you will, to kind of get them on the right path.
Okay.
We also provide referrals to some other community resources, not just in Peoria County, but also in the surrounding counties. The program, however, is limited to people who reside in the city of Peoria.
Okay.
So you have to be, one, for rent assistance, you have to be a renter in the city of Peoria. You have to have an eviction notice.
Okay.
And you also have to be able to meet our income eligibility requirements.
Okay, so this is primarily for rental individuals or families. These are
Yes.
not homeowners. This is not a program to deal with that. I know there are other assistance that's either through our agency here or others that can help with the homeowners, but you're primarily to assist people who are being evicted in terms of
One aspect of the program does help people who are renters, who are looking at the possibility of homelessness.
Okay.
For homeowners and people who are renters, we also provide utility assistance.
Oh, okay.
We can provide up to $1,500 in assistance for energy, $500 for water and $250 for sanitation. The maximum that we can provide for rental assistance, and this has to be rent that you're in arrears, back rent that you owe, rent that you haven't paid, at the maximum of $2,500.
Wow.
Or up to 3 months of rent.
Wow. And this is a program that is federally funded primarily.
It's federally funded, yes.
So this is one of those that have a real danger of being either reduced or maybe even eliminated because of all of the budget discussions and cuts and all those things.
Exactly, and it's also important for people to know that if you have received this assistance, contact your federal representatives.
Right.
Let them know that this money assisted you. Make them accountable, but speak up. I mean, a lot of times, you know, agencies get these monies and no one wants to speak up. They want to get it and kind of, you know, go on with their lives.
Right.
That's okay, but we all have a civic duty, you know, to keep programs such as this up and going, particularly right now with the economy the way it is.
Right. Well, that's part of our mission here as far as this show Captions, as I said, is to educate people, which you've just done, to let them know that an answer is there for many of the problems that some of the people may face. We want them to participate in that program if they're in need of it or if they're eligible. And we also want them to let others know that they have received the program, and it's very important to let the elected officials know, local, statewide, as well as our national representatives, of how valuable that program was to them or their family or to the community as a whole. Well, I certainly hope that after hearing you tonight, Chris, there will be those who will be dialing 671-3900, wanting to talk with you and either seeing what help you may provide them directly or letting you know that they have a son, a daughter, a neighbor, or a friend that they think would benefit from it, and have them to contact you, because anything worse is to have programs and people not be aware of them or not take the time to get up and apply for the program or call in for the program. What is it that a person would have, is there anything that the person would have to bring to you when they meet with you or show you or
well,
whatever?
the application that they can come in and pick up at the office at the reception desk will explain all the required documentation, and also they would have to complete an application, so they will have to apply for the process. A couple of things we will be looking for is proof of income. They also have to have an eviction notice if they're looking for rental assistance, and a lease agreement. If they're needing energy assistance or some type of a utility assistance, they'll need to have a disconnect notice and or shut-off notice and activity statement for that utility company that they're seeking assistance for.
Well, that's one of the things that I really praise the Community Action Agency for, because they deal with basic needs, from housing to food to utilities to things that people just really need to be able to have a quality of life. And I'm so glad that you're part of the family. I'm so glad that you are a Peorian and have returned back from the big city of LA and come back to little PEO Rivertown, Peoria, and I'm looking forward to having you come on our show again in the future. And if there's anything that you think would be a real value for our citizens to know about, and I want you to always feel free to pick up the phone and get a hold of me or Dennis and say, hey, I think I have another news alert that would be of value for people to know about.
Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for having me.
Well, I want to thank you for visiting with us, and I wish you Godspeed and God's blessing, because we certainly need you as an individual and need your program as an individual.
Thank you.
Well, I want you to know that this is the segment that we have completed, but we're going to take a short break, and we'll have some more interesting news and views for you to hear and learn from when we return. Please come back. We'll be here waiting for you.
I took a trip to Elkhart, Indiana today. Elkhart's a place that has lost jobs faster than anywhere else in America. In fact, local TV stations have started running public service announcements that tell people where to find food banks even as the food banks don't have enough to meet the demand.
Welcome back, and I'm glad you joined us. We're going to continue our discussion of helping people, changing lives, and I have with me a special guest, Ruth Simpkins. Welcome to Captions, Ruth.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Andre.
I believe that you are the weatherization specialist. Am I correct?
Yes, I am. I'm one of several people in the weatherization department that assists people with getting their home weatherized.
Well, fine. I was going to ask you, what is weatherization? So this is something that involves some physical improvements to homes that are in need of improvements or weatherization or whatever. Can you explain what is it that is included in a weatherization program?
Well, the weatherization program is designed to help low-income people save energy, thus they save money, plus then they make their homes more comfortable while doing the saving energy and saving money.
And how do you do that? What physical types of things do you do to a home, for instance?
Well, the main work that is performed in the weatherization program is we look at air sealing the home.
Okay.
Is the major way to make it more energy efficient. We'll go out and insulate the attic, insulate the sidewalls of the house, the floors, the crawl space if the house is on a crawl space. We look at air sealing the windows and doors. Now sometimes that involves just caulk and lining up the windows and doors, and then other times it'll involve replacing certain windows and doors, and it just depends on, after we do the inspection of the home, what we determine, the need is. We also look at the mechanical system, the heating system, and determine if it just needs to be cleaned or tuned, or if it's very old and in bad shape, and a lot of your older systems are not as energy efficient as the newer furnaces and everything. They then will go and replace the furnace and put in a whole new heating system. Some homes don't have adequate ductwork, meaning that sometimes they don't have ductwork going to certain rooms, and so thus their heating system, they'll be turning the furnace up to make the other rooms warm and, using more energy, and by putting ducts into all the rooms and getting adequate return air. So we look at all of that when we're, looking at the home and how to make it more energy efficient.